Welcome to What's Up Wichita. We're here with Mayor Brandon Whipple. Mayor Whipple is here to answer your questions live. Click on the Zoom link in the Facebook post to ask your question live. You can also submit a written question in the Facebook Live feed chat and he will answer those as well. Now, here's Mayor whipple.
Hey, what's up, Wichita? This is your Mayor, Brandon Whipple, and we have a special episode tonight where we are actually going to take live questions from folks on our social media platform, also by clicking the Zoom link or in the Zoom link. We're here with Megan, we're here with our staff, and we are looking for questions. We've had a lot of interesting things happen this past week with the budget passing, and then also, of course, with summer coming to an end. So again, we're here to take live questions and look forward to folks chiming in, and hopefully I'll answer these questions as best I can, and if there's anything that stumps me, I'll make sure to get back to you after I can go check out the information from staff.
All right. So we have gotten a few questions before this feed. Again, this is the first time we're doing this format, so we're working out the kinks, but just
You're doing a great job, Megan.
Again, you can ask your questions in the Facebook Live feed or on Zoom. So you can start off. The first question we got was from Jen in District 5. When will the new water treatment facility be ready?
That's a really good question. So I as an elected official, I hesitate when it comes to putting a hard date to when something is going to get done, because everyone knows when it comes to government, things sometimes take a little longer than projected. We do know that the construction continues to be ongoing, and we're making progress. So I believe it is scheduled to be about 2 years out. Right around that time frame was the last I checked before that new water plant is live. In the meantime, we continue to utilize our old water plant, our old assets, and to upgrade pipes as we can. So we're just looking forward to that new plant coming online, and of course, we want to stay focused on the plant that's currently running to make sure we have as little hiccups in water service as possible.
That's great, yeah. Stay tuned. You can also follow along that process online, of course, at Wichita Water Partners or on the City of Wichita Facebook page under Public Works. Our next question is from Andrew Crane. What's next for transportation in our city?
What's going on, Andrew? Thank you for the question. Andrew is someone who actually comes into City Hall quite frequently and talks to us about the budget. So first, I just want to tell you that we really appreciate the interaction with you, Andrew, and glad that you follow local government as closely as they do. When it comes to public transportation, right now we are trying to modernize our fleet by bringing in, as we trade in old buses, bringing in buses that are actually electric. We just got a large grant from the federal government to integrate, I believe it was 4 or 5, Megan, new new shuttles that are electric, and they will replace some of our gas guzzling units, and we also, with that grant from the federal government, have money to put charging stations in. And frankly, the charging stations cost a little more than I think most people realize. But once they're in, again, this is federal money, so it's not coming out of our pot of money here at the local level. This is our taxpayer money coming back to us. Into our community, which is something that is always great because we all pay federal taxes. We don't always see the result of that coming back into Wichita. So when it comes to our transportation, right now we are focused on just the plan we currently have in place and bettering that, and then also hopefully expanding. There has been talk of possibly finding different ways that we can increase revenue going into our transportation so that we can expand to more routes. We've talked to business leaders who are interested in possibly a third shift route, and because we have folks who want to use public transportation to get to work and back. So we're in discussions on expanding services, but right now the services we have, we're focused on making those services better and even more responsible. I will add that our current rigs, our current buses, the ones that aren't electric, actually only get about 4 miles to the gallon. So as we improve with new technology for our public transit shuttles and buses and vans, we do save money in our budget, which we can actually add towards increasing services in the future.
That's great. Chris Gibson on Facebook is wondering about what we're doing about the stray dog problem. We had some speakers at the budget meeting asking about it. Could you just speak to that just a little bit?
Yeah, this is a good example of how appreciative we are that folks came out during this budget cycle to have a conversation about what they want to see in Wichita. We had a woman who met with us just a few weeks ago. She came to our public forum on the budget and talked about just these really terrifying experiences she's had where you have stray dogs in certain neighborhoods that will sometimes present a aggressive posture or even attack her or other people in the neighborhood. So because we were able to get that feedback and take a second look at the budget to see where we had money to move around, thanks to the leadership of Councilmember Hoheisel, we actually added 2 new officers to the Wichita Animal Shelter team, which allows more officers to actually go out and respond to calls that folks make about dangerous animals in the neighborhood, so that we can keep those neighborhoods safe, particularly as we see more kids going back to school and walking to school. We want to make sure that they don't encounter any type of dangerous animals. We also added more, I think they're called vet techs. They're more the folks who work, specialize in animals over at the Wichita Animal Shelter, which will hopefully increase not just the service that is provided by the Wichita Animal Shelter, but also allow more officers to leave the Wichita Animal Shelter and be on call out there in the community, helping if we have more stray dogs that are out and about. So our goal is to keep the community safe, keep the animals safe, and make sure that we have a place for folks to come pick up their pets afterwards.
Speaking of the budget, another key priority for the budget is, of course, emergency services, safety personnel. Francisco Buenuelos is asking about both the fire contract and where we stand with that, and what we're doing to improve response times within the city of Wichita.
Really good question. One of the number one things that just throughout the years that people have talked about with local government and with Wichita in particular is how do we keep our communities safer? Firefighters are such an integral part in that plan. One of the things we're doing is we last year approved the funding, and it was pretty expensive, but it's worth it. A study on how, an analytical study, so it's software that's actually adjusting as we adjust on, how are we doing when it comes to getting to different places throughout the city as our city grows. And also, do we have enough staff, and do we have enough fire stations? We've actually invested, I believe, off the cuff, about $45 million in new fire stations over the next 10 years, so that we can actually decrease those response times as fire stations will be put strategically based on the data in different locations throughout Wichita, so they can respond to fires faster. And then, of course, if we want to be the best city in the Midwest, definitely the best city in Kansas. For us to get there, we have to pay our firefighters what they're worth. And by doing that, my goal has always been I want entry-level pay on firefighters to be the best in the entire state. I don't think that's too much to ask. And I know that our team on the administrative side here is working with the fire union to try to come to terms with a contract so that we can achieve that. So my understanding is where we're at now in the negotiations is we're getting closer. We are actually to a position where we have more money and resources going into fire than at any time before. However, we still got a ways to go to close that gap between the administration and also the fire union. And I'll just add that the elected officials are on the outside of that. So the way our system of government works, and it's a firewall to stop corruption, is the administration side, which is run by the city manager, actually controls all the negotiations and all the employment policies when it comes to the city of Wichita. And the electeds, we're on this side where we control the public policy, which is outcomes and goals, and also the budget. We approve taxpayer money going out because we are elected by the taxpayers. So it's something that we stay focused on, and we work with the firefighter union and also with our city management. But again, the elected officials are not the ones in the room, and that's done because of the form of government we have. So we're hoping that it comes to an agreement soon, and then of course that will come to the council to be voted on.
All right. Corey Buckdow on Facebook is saying, I feel like small businesses are vital to our local economy. Can the city do more to help our small businesses? Yeah, really good point here. One of the things that we heard, not just before COVID, but particularly after COVID, we saw an explosion of small businesses during COVID. I think people, while they were at home, not going to the office,
Many of them started an online business or another type of small business in which they would like to accelerate. We know that here in the United States, 70% of new jobs are coming from small business and the small business community. And in Wichita, we're no stranger to entrepreneurism. We actually have a history of that. So at the city level, what can we do when it comes to helping these small businesses and create the environment that actually grows more small businesses so we have more opportunity? One of the things we did is we're the only city in Kansas, at least that I know of, that once we got the American Rescue Plan funds into the city to help us recover from COVID, we actually put aside about $10 million and dedicated that money to workforce development, which is another major thing that most cities are dealing with is what do we do when it comes to getting people out there ready for that next economy, and also small business growth and development. So I believe off the cuff, again, I double check my notes, but I believe it's about $3.7 million that we approved in small business growth and development loans. Not loans, excuse me, grants. And how this works is we usually go and we get, we'll go and partner with other nonprofit organizations that are already working in this space. And we'll say, how can we come alongside and help you? And they will come and present us or staff with a proposal on, hey, if you were able to give us this money, we could do this with it. And that's what we did. It's $3.7 million worth of ARPA grants that are out into our community right now. And we're looking forward to seeing the results of that, which would be a better environment for small businesses.
All right, so Chris Stark asked, can the city please get started on the Douglas Avenue road diet by making it more pedestrian and bicycle friendly? Obviously, road diets are something that we revisit. Do you want to speak to our bike friendly efforts a little bit?
Yeah, this again is an ongoing effort, and we keep hearing from folks about how they want us to be the type of city that you can have jogging trails and also bike trails. That should be part of our overarching strategy when it comes to public transportation, and it's ongoing. It's something where it's as we repair roads and make improvements, we can add these type of bike lanes into that. So it is a goal. It is something that we continue to work on as far as creating more of a bike-friendly city, and we're making progress on it. At this point, we still have to go back and look at, okay, well, how do we attach or connect all the routes and make sure that we get to where I think folks believe Wichita should be when it comes to expanding alternative transportation options, including bikes and even electric scooters. So it's something we're working on. However, this isn't something that could just be solved overnight. As people remember, my first year being mayor, we had to cut $14 million out of the budget. We had to pretty much shutter a lot of the services we were offering, and right now we're just getting the economy back on track and taking advantage of some of the opportunities post-COVID that we're handling at the moment. So I think when it comes to bikes and bike paths, that's something that we are focused on, but we got a bit pushed backwards because of the COVID economy, and frankly, I think it's something that we'll see more progression towards in the future.
All right. We do have a question from Rob Mathis on Facebook. Just about skate parks, the expansion and updating of our current skate parks. We've talked a lot about the budget tonight, obviously, but could you talk about just support for parks in general and maintenance versus expansion?
So, really good question. For us to be a vibrant city, a city that I think people would actually want to not only raise a family in, but also go and have fun in, you have to invest in parks and even recreation centers. And there's a lot of aspects to this. I'm a big fan of skate parks. I grew up in the 90s. And some cities actually went, I believe, the wrong direction when it came to skate parks. They actually created more of a hostile environment for skateboarders. And what we want to do is really encourage young people and people maybe not so young. Like my little brother is he's like in his late 30s and he still goes to bike parks, skate parks with his BMX. But we want to encourage outdoor activity, right? I think that a lot of times young people have maybe too much screen time, and if we can get them out and about and into either our parks or some of our park programs, or even just setting up the skate parks so that they can be open in a safe place for people to participate, I think that is something that we should be doing even more of as a city. In this last budget, we were able to fully fund our parks, our recreation department, and also keep, for folks who have been following the last couple of years, years, keep our aquatics plan moving as well, our aquatics master plan, where we had, I think, three new splash pads that were open this summer. So we want to make sure that we keep moving forward, and of course, skate parks is part of that agenda.
That's really great. So we have a question from Chris Gibson about incentivizing specifically police officers, but hiring is a problem across the country. Everyone's trying to recruit applicants. What has the city done to make our jobs more lucrative or better for people to apply to?
So if we're going to be the best city in the state, which I think we can be, I think we already are, we have to attract and retain the best people to work for us. We want to attract the type of people who want to retire here in Wichita and give us their time and their talents. So we've been, over the last couple of years, really pushing towards really equitable pay. Folks might remember last year in the budget, one of the things we did is we brought every full-time employee up to a living wage, regardless what your position was within the city. And then we also passed a contract with the police officers to make them have the type of pay that they would feel good coming to work every day and working for us for. Next, of course, is going to be the firefighters. That's something we've heard a lot of, but the majority of the council, I think, values paying people what they're worth. One of the things we don't want to do or ever do is really balance the budget on the back of our employees. Even during COVID, when we were actually cutting $14 million out of our budget, we still kept in there the merit pay and also cost of living pay for our employees so we can still hang on to them, while other local governments didn't. And those other local governments are now in a deeper hole than we are when it comes to attracting and retaining new talent, because I think that employees might not have felt as valued. So we have multiple strategies when it comes to policing in general and even firefighting. We have strategies to actually get into the classroom, get into high school for seniors who are close to graduating, and maybe higher education or college isn't something that they're interested in, so they can go in instead and go get a certificate, an EMT certificate, which could be then attracted to one of our fire positions and continue their education there, or through our police academy. So normally we have been very proactive with our chief, firefighter chief, Chief Snow, and also our previous police chief. Right now we don't have a police chief, we have an interim, and we see the results of that. We have less people right now in our class for police officers than we have in the past. And I think once we get a new police chief, we get that leadership put in place, then hopefully we can have more of that proactive, those proactive steps to attract that next generation of police officers.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So now Zoom is also an option for engaging in tonight's live. I think we have a special guest surprise for you, Mayor. Adrian, are you on Zoom?
What's up, AJ?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, bud.
Yeah. So my question was, what was it again? Yeah. What will you do for the city in the future?
Well, in the future, you think I have a time machine, AJ? You think I can just go to the future and do something for you?
No, like, what will you do for the city in the future? Like, what are you planning?
All right, well, good question, AJ. For those who don't know, that's actually my kid, so I feel like I could joke with him a little bit. Thanks for calling, AJ, by the way. And frankly, what we're trying to do here at the city level is create opportunities for people like you in the future, for that next generation. We right now, for the first time that I can recall, the majority of the city council actually has school-age kids, which is reasonable to believe that their motivation is similar to mine, in which we want to create a city that not only can you have fun in now, in last summer, and this summer, and next summer, just for different activities to do, but also one that you can, as you decide what you want to do when you grow up, you can actually learn a skill here and then hopefully get a job and stay here. One of the things I joke with AJ about is, I kind of want you to be a medical doctor, AJ. I think I said that to you, and I joke about, hey man, we actually built your medical school. Like we have a...
No, you never joke with me with that.
Well, I don't want you to be a lawyer, but you might be a better lawyer than a potential lawyer than a doctor. But So one of the things we got to do is, of course, stay focused on supplementing the public education. So when you go to school and you're able to get a good education there, that's all funded, of course, from the state level. One of the things we're doing is trying to create more library programs, make sure that if you, let's say, are a little late with a library book, you could still go and get the next library book by waiving library fees, which is something we did last week. We want to make sure that, AJ, if you want to join a sport, that we have other sports besides just the sports at your school. And we also want to make sure that once you get out of high school, if you want to stay in Wichita and get higher education, we have top-notch higher education programs, and we do. So my job is to continue down that path to create more opportunities for people like you.
All right. Well, thanks, Adrian. We have gotten a couple questions. One was about slumlords, and I'm assuming that this is referring to, private housing, which we have very little oversight of. But could you speak a little bit to what we're doing to increase housing and small housing in our community?
Yeah, really good question. One of the things that sometimes people will reach out to me and say, hey, I'm having this problem with the landlord. Can you fix it? Can you help me? And the reality is I really can't at the city level. Usually these are legal issues because these are the statutes that protect folks who are renting. Those statutes are state level statutes. So normally you have to go through a legal process. Some of the things we can do as a city, of course, is to ensure that, let's say, if there is a really dangerous living situation, we would have you get in touch with our housing department to figure out if there's a path or a way that we could get you into a different living situation. So we've done that in the past where we've been able to go in and actually bring our housing staff and folks who might qualify for vouchers, let's say, try to get them through that process a little faster. The other thing we got to do, and we have to stay forward thinking on this, is there are so many cities right now where it's almost unaffordable to live. Wichita, we have to continue to protect our ability to work in Wichita and, frankly, be able to own a house. And to do that, my philosophy economically when it comes to housing is you got to keep up with demand. So we need to make sure that we do what we can on the city level to ease the process to get the permits you need and to also get the zoning people need so they can get houses built and get, in some cases, multiple family houses built so that we can continue to keep housing affordable for folks. I'm from New Hampshire. It's a totally different state. And housing is so expensive in New Hampshire that, frankly, my parents worked their whole lives. They're the hardest working people I know, and they'll never own a house. And that's really the norm there, and we never want that to be the norm here.
All right. So we are coming at the end of our time. I think we have questions for just like one more question. I think we've got Chance from the Eagle on too. Chance?
Don't be crashing my show, Chance. What are you doing?
Hey, how's it going there, Mayor? I got a couple questions here related to the police chief situation. What are the city's plans for naming an interim chief? Two deputy chiefs have been criticized in a city manager's committee report on the text message scandal, and Moore announced he's retiring soon. Also, the city manager, Robert Layton, says the city could name a new chief by the end of October. So when will the public get a chance to weigh in on the potential candidates or finalists for the job? It seems like a pretty quick, it could be a pretty quick turnaround.
I'm sorry, that mustache distracted me so much. Was he asking about the police chief? Oh, he was? Okay.
That is a weighty question. We only have a few more minutes, so we'll try to get as much of it as we can.
Yeah, no, interesting. Really good question, because I get this a lot about, hey, what's going on with the police chief and the police search. I will say that when interim police chief announced that he was retiring at, I think, the end of next month or beginning of October, it came as a shock really to me as mayor, and I think to the majority of the council. That was something, frankly, he told the media, folks like you, before he came and told us. And as mentioned, the hiring of our staff comes through the city manager. So as far as the process to announce a new chief, my understanding is we are supposed to have these more community-led discussions like we did when we hired the previous chief, and that's my expectation. I did read that the manager said, hey, we might have a new chief in a month or 2 months by the fall. I'm not sure if he was referring to a new interim chief or if he was referring to an actual full-time chief. If that's the case, then again, we have to make sure that we do our due diligence by having folks in the community have a chance to talk, interact with the candidates, so that the new police chief will feel comfortable, and more importantly, the public will feel comfortable and confident with that new police chief. Our policing strategy has been one of community policing, which means we want our officers to build relationships in the community, to be a part of the community, and to not actually just be someone who shows up when there is a problem, but also someone who's there when let's say at a softball game, and interacting with people. Because that strategy results in folks not only building trust, but being able to say to one of our officers, hey, so-and-so moved out of that house over there, but there's been some activity, so that our officers can be on top of things as they're happening before it gets out of hand. So good question about the police chief, and frankly, we're still in that process.
All right, Mayor, I think we were a little bit over time. Really great questions. If we didn't
Don't
get to
tell
you,
Facebook.
we will answer those later. So yeah, do you want to wrap it up for us?
Well, just want to thank everyone for being on. We're going to try some different stuff when it comes to the What's Up Wichita show. This, of course, we want to give an open public forum about the budget, about the stuff we have going on here in Wichita. If you want to be on next month's show, please make sure to reach out to our communications team, and you can either send in a video and have your question asked on air, or if it's a topic that we can dive into, we can make your show more about that topic. Again, thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to next month.